Yes, it's spring-loaded today, but there's news too. In today's show, the UK government shocks everyone with a reasonable decision on Nvidia ARM acquisition, and is Apple going to start charging subscriptions for podcasts? Plus, your questions in iCave Answers. iCave's spring-loaded coverage is brought to you by Clean My Mac X, the all-in-one cleaning and optimizing software for your Mac. No matter how flawless and perfect new Apple products may seem, they still need good care to keep the best performance, protect from vulnerabilities, and prevent possible issues. Clean My Mac X is an app that handles these issues and helps to top up your Mac's performance. Clean My Mac X is more than just a Mac cleaner. It doesn't show you the files you already know you have, it deep scans your Mac for temporary files and app leftovers that aren't so easy to find manually. A single smart scan examines your system for log files and user cache that's no longer needed, runs a quick malware check, and does some optimization to help speed up your Mac all in just a few seconds. Gives you more control over apps and their files. Find out what apps and programs you have on your Mac and uninstall those that you don't need. Plus, Clean My Mac X recently rolled out native Apple Silicon support for Macs. If you're a lucky owner of the latest Mac model, be ready to enjoy a smooth ride at faster Clean My Mac X performance with your new Mac, as well as keeping track of permissions so you can see which apps are accessing your Mac's camera and microphone. Link is in the description to check out a free trial, which of course helps to support this channel too. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple leaks, news and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring my notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. All you need to do to get a shout out in the next video is use hashtag notification squad down in the comments. The UK government shocks everyone with a reasonable decision on Nvidia ARM acquisition. The UK government is intervening in Nvidia's $40 billion deal to acquire ARM on national security grounds. Oliver Dowd, the UK's digital secretary, said in a press release, "We want to support our thriving UK tech industry and welcome foreign investment." A report will be prepared on the implications of the deal by July the 30th, and the investigation comes alongside another investigation from the Competitions and Markets Authority, which is focused on whether the purchase may raise prices for those who license ARM chip designs and compete with Nvidia. The current plan would keep ARM's HQ in the UK, in Cambridge, though there are concerns that as Nvidia competes directly with Qualcomm, AMD and Intel, who license the technology, such an acquisition may reduce competition. While Apple's M1 chips and A-series chips are considered ARM chips, they only use the ARM instruction set, architecture or ISA, not ARM's chip designs, unlike many others. The deal is also being probed by regulators in the US, Canada and the EU, according to CNBC, so the chances of the purchase being blocked are fairly high. Paid podcast subscriptions coming to Apple Podcasts? This is a bit of a strange one because Apple, while very much associated with podcasts, with the pod part of it actually referring to the iPod, has never really invested much in terms of resources into the podcast platform itself. When you listen to a podcast, it's not downloaded from Apple's servers. All Apple Podcasts does is actually read a file that points to where the episode is stored, so it could be on pretty much any server in the world. Because of the multiple platforms that all read a single feed for a podcast too, many podcasts make their money through direct advertising and ad reads within the shows themselves that have to be sought out and negotiated directly. Of course, in recent years, platforms like Spotify have started paying for exclusivity to certain shows like Joe Rogan, with his show coming away from YouTube and other platforms as a result, with the aim to bring more people to their general music streaming platform subscriptions. There are also platforms like Anchor FM, which use the option of auto ads in your podcast to generate revenue without you needing to actually negotiate these yourself. And in that way, Anchor is a little bit more like YouTube, where it's more based on how many eyes and how many ears, in this case, can you get on your content in order to find advertisers. So if Apple was wanting to create a podcast platform, it would seem unlikely they would be adding in adverts based on their privacy concerns, but perhaps they could do a system like YouTube Premium, where users pay a monthly fee that allows access to a whole bunch of ad-free content, which would also match with how Apple Arcade works. All inclusive, all free, and in-app purchase free. Then the monthly fee could be split by listen time minus Apple's presumably 30% cut across all of the podcasts that you listen to. Apple could also follow more of an Apple TV Plus model, where you pay a monthly fee, or like most people you don't yet, for specially made premium content. Or maybe Podcast Plus comes inclusive with Apple Music, more along the lines of Spotify's offer. That could be a good way to push people towards family plans too, as I don't actually listen to that much music myself, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts, but my wife is the other way around. But I think the most interesting option here would be if Apple was to create an app a little bit like Anchor, where you can easily make your own podcast on your iPhone, iPad, or even your Mac, although I'm not sure it would quite run on a MagSafe charger yet, but maybe next year. And then if you're making a music show like a traditional radio show, you can insert tracks from Apple Music that play within the podcast for those with a membership, or just play short samples for those listening without an Apple Music or podcast membership. I think that would be a pretty cool concept, and I have a feeling that Anchor and Spotify might have teamed up at some point to do something similar. But what are your thoughts on this? Would you see yourself going for any of these options? I think the last one is probably the most PO'd of the lot. And speaking of PO'd, the Apple event is today. It has been a long time coming, but it is well within reach now. I'll be going live just before the end of the Apple live stream, so I'll be ready to greet you all as you arrive, and I'll answer as many of your questions as possible, but bear in mind that it does get a little bit crazy after these things. If you absolutely have to have your question answered, then I think we will turn on Super Chats, and those will just be highlighted for me. And before we get into your questions in this show, there's a correction from yesterday's show. The errata is the iPad Air 3 actually came with an A12 processor, not an A13. I was getting confused with the concept for the A13 based iPad Nothing that was going to take the chassis of the iPad Air 3, so sorry about that one. But into your iCave answers, if you've got a question for me, then fire away and use hashtag iCave answers down in the comments.
Sean Holiday asks, iCave answers. I desperately need a new computer to power my recording studio. M1 is great, but not quite as future-proof as I would like. Hopefully M1X delivers. Do you think I should wait for an Apple Silicon Mac Pro or settle for M1X iMac? I like having two monitors for audio work.
So you're in luck. If it is purely the monitor situation that is your limiting factor, you can do that. You just grab a Mac Mini, which is the cheap one. It's exactly what I've got, and it's running both of these monitors right here. We have done a whole video on my setup in general, how this kind of setup behind me cost about £1,000 in total, so less than an iMac, and I've got two 40-inch displays right here, running with a Mac Mini, so you can check that video out. I'll put that up here. If your main issue is that you need the two monitors, the M1 will do that already for you. If you go for the Mac Mini, you've got one on HDMI, which runs up to 4K at 60, and you can do up to 6K at 60 Hz over the USB port. If, however, you are waiting for the iMacs, it's definitely worth having a look. Probably no more later today. I can't really answer it particularly well for you just yet.
Andre Lewis asks, iCave answers. Hi. This might be an unusual question, but do you think we've honestly seen all that the M1 is capable of? Apple like to seemingly hide things in their devices, things even the leakers don't know immediately. I can't think of anything necessarily off the top of my head, but the M1 is obviously very powerful. People have thrown multiple styles of workloads at it. But do you think there might be a few things people just haven't found yet? I've been thinking about this, and since Rosetta 2 is so fast, when let's say over 70% of the apps people have to run under Rosetta currently switch to native and the CPU works less hard. Perhaps longer battery life, more cycles for rendering. I don't know. Probably just barking up a mad tree here, but I don't think we found all there is to find. Just yet.
No, I don't think you're going mad there at all. There is definitely more to be gleaned out of the M1 chips yet. What you said about Rosetta, yes, the battery life at the minute is limited a little bit by Rosetta, so if you are running Rosetta-based apps that are Intel apps that are translated over, they do not run as efficiently as native Apple Silicon processors. That is 100% true, but the battery life that we've had kind of quoted for the Apple Silicon, for the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, are all based on it running native apps. So if you are running Rosetta stuff, it is going to be a little bit shorter than that, so just bear that in mind. But to be completely honest, yes, it is a bit of a powerhouse. I do think that we are going to get more kind of power unlocked potentially down the line. Someone has mentioned, could you up the voltage a little bit maybe on the Mac Mini, because it runs so cool. The fans never come on to a degree that you can even hear them at all. So, there's definitely some headroom there. I don't think Apple will probably push it that hard, because I think, they've got enough new stuff in the pipeline that's going to be coming down. But I also think that some of the silicon that's there, that's not the CPU and the GPU, some of the other stuff, the hardware transcoders and things like that, we could potentially see firmware updates in future that enable those to have different workloads potentially. So the hardware video encoder maybe could be updated to use different codecs in future. There's a lot of stuff that could potentially happen. So yeah, I think there will be more to come, but I think the majority of what M1 can do, we're seeing already.
Joe asks, iCave answers, what chair are you sitting in? Have you ever thought of a gaming chair? Obviously sarcastic.
So yeah, it is kind of a gaming chair. The problem with this one is that when I bought it, it looked a lot bigger than it is. So maybe it's like a child's gaming chair, but you know, it's fine. Ooh. But as you can hear, it already squeaks quite a lot. I have a feeling this is not going to be my forever chair. I feel like this, I think it was about £60-70, something like that. So this is going to do me for a while, but then it is probably going to get replaced with something a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more supportive down the line. But yeah, for now, this is the one. Someone did respond in the comments and said that I've made a video on it. Actually, I make all of my videos on it. I'm on it right now. Joe, by the way, has gone all out with a trio of questions here, so we're going to rapid fire through these.
Joe asks, iCave answers, if this is in the future, how is the Apple 4/20 event?
Hi Joe, it is the future. It's not quite enough of the future yet, so I still don't know.
Joe asks, iCave answers, what do you prefer, glossy or matte for Apple Pencil?
So, you've gone for some weird questions today, Joe. I've got the Apple Pencil 2. It is matte, I guess. I've never had the first one, so I've never used a glossy one. I can only imagine it's a magical experience, but I don't care. I don't care. I put a skin on this thing when I first bought it anyway, so I didn't really experience the texture, but it's fine. I don't think it matters. My only thought with Apple Pencil going back to a glossy instead of this nice matte finish is one thing that nobody seems to have mentioned yet. What if they're going to bring the price of it way down? Because everyone said, oh, I don't like the glossy one as much. What if that glossy one, A, can charge in both ways, so it becomes the Apple Pencil and replaces the old style one that you have to plug in the bottom of it, and also can charge magnetically? That would be really cool. But also, what if it's $50 instead of 100 or 120? I think that would be pretty compelling if they could do that. The other option is, of course, they are going higher end and they're going to put that colour selecting tip on it. That I would be super excited by. I think that would be a really compelling option. But if it goes much above the current pricing, I think that might be too much for people. But that's going to be it for today. It's not a hugely long show. This was a show particularly to just prepare everyone. The live stream is going live immediately after. You can already sign up for it. The link is right up here. All you need to do is click that, and you will get a little reminder before we go live. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you all later on today. Don't forget, I'm having my vaccine just before the live stream, so hopefully the side effects don't kick in too quick. If they do, it's going to be entertaining either way, like a Starship launch. See you later.